Obviously we have Cyrus out here. Him and I'll tell you a quick background. Last year, Coldwell Banker did Engage, which was the luxury real estate summit that they did out in LA. And I had the pleasure of attending that summit. It was absolutely awesome. And it happened to fall. They had a President's Council, which is like the top managers in the country, was like a week later. So I went to both, and I had a week in between, and I decided, I'm gonna just hang out around LA and just reach out to the people that I know in that area. So I reached out to Cyrus, and he pretty much like dropped everything. I know he does this all the time, and clearly it takes a lot of time to go out there and build a business like you have. But I really appreciated the genuine nature about you and the fact that you took the time to sit with me. I remember him and I were like sitting on my balcony at my hotel, just talking about life and business and what have you. And we connected on in that time period. And I was just super impressed by, just the fact that you gave me the time that you did. And I realized that this guy's special in terms of what he brings to the table. So for starters, kudos to you and, thank you. And obviously you could see that with what you just presented. So I'm going to jump into a series of different questions that many of which I know the answers to, but I know that I was like aha moments when I heard them from you. You're one of the best, in the universe of real estate when it comes to systems. You really are. So my first question to you is, we always hear about CRMs. And the question that tends to arise with CRMs more than anything is, what CRM are you using? And clearly, you're using Follow Up Boss. I understand that. And this is not a plug necessarily, but it's the perfect question for you is, I don't want to know which system you're using. I want to know how you use it. How do you specifically use your CRM to give yourself an advantage?
Every day, I talk about your I know I've said it to people in this room probably, but like I talk about your CRM should be used just as much as you brush your teeth, and it's the morning and the night, like minimum, right? Like if you're not brushing your teeth in the morning and night, then we got another issue, right? But so I use my CRM on a daily basis. It's in the morning. It's my start of my workday and it's the end of my workday. Every single day I'm in my CRM. How I use it, using automations and things like that, is really cool. So what I've done is I've actually created checklists within my system. So I have a independent brokerage. When I bring on an agent, that agent can be never sold a house, get into escrow, and my checklist, once you hit action plan, and automations start hitting, so it'll actually tell them literally every single thing that they need to do, time released within that escrow, right? What did I do? I took my TC's checklist and I built it into Follow Up Boss, time release, period.
I'm going to translate real quick. Once the deal goes under contract.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So once it goes under contract, I am actually, like, my agents will actually select like Keystone, open escrow, buyer escrow, or whatever, right? And then what that'll do is that'll send a checklist to all of my to my agents that's handling that, and then all of our admin team on what they need to do as well. So that's like one little thing that I do. On top of that, it's using drip campaigns. It's using, I personally like, Follow Up Boss has a really cool thing with the phone number function, so you have your own work line, right? And now, as I've scaled and hired assistants and things like that, like my assistant can actually jump into my phone and respond to text messages and things like that, which is super powerful as you scale your business. But I mean, those are like little bit. I can go on for like at least 6 hours on what I do.
I know, because we have. So, in terms of, I just want to touch on the automation piece of this. I'm going to go off script a little bit, but from an automation perspective, what I find pretty impressive is you have a lot of this functionality working for you while you're asleep.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the secret sauce in many ways to this business, because it's really tough to do everything by yourself. So can you speak to, just briefly touch upon, what you do in terms of automations and, and how that works to make your life easier?
Jeff Bezos makes 3 decisions on a daily basis. He's like famous for saying this. So when I heard that, I'm like, what? Amazon, biggest company in the world, like the owner and founder only makes 3 decisions. I'm like, how does he do that, right? So I got fascinated with this thought process. And what I realize is it's not so much that he's only deciding 3 things on a daily basis, it's that he's decided them already. Right? So what does that mean? That means in his calendar, it's already calendar out. He doesn't have to think about what's next. Right? So as far as the automations go, like smart lists, for instance, I don't think about when I need to call a client. Like ever. Period, end of story. I just make sure that they're in the right category. So, for instance, A, hot, B, warm, C, cold, past client, so on and so forth. As long as I have them in the correct and sorted correctly, the smart list tells me when I need to call them. What is a smart list? Really simple. It's a filter and a function that's saved. Pretty straightforward. So, for instance, my A hot is a filter that's saved in my CRM that says if I have not called them within 7 days, then I need to call them. So they show up in my smart list. My SOI one is if I have not contacted them within 90 days, then I have to call them. So they just show up. So I log into my CRM and it literally tells me who I need to call. I don't ever have to think about it.
So I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I just want you to think about this. All of your work essentially is being done ahead of time.
Yes.
So your day-to-day, when you meet somebody, you're doing all of the upfront, the heavy lifting at the point in time that you meet them, immediately upon meeting them. And then for the rest of time, it's an automated system.
Correct. Down to how we retarget them, down to literally everything. So once there are contacts inside Follow Up Boss, the coolest thing about Follow Up Boss is it's got open APIs, so like it connects with literally everything. So what's cool is like down to even like if I just added, for instance, my niece's soccer team's parents, right? When I added them in there, now just like you guys ever go shopping online and then these shoes follow you everywhere, you know what I mean? Like they're like on Facebook, they're on all this. We do the same thing where we retarget them with our brand. So once they go into our system, we have retargeting going out to all of these people. So now it's literally following them.
So what do you say to all the agents out there that are saying, I don't have the time to put these people into my CRM?
You're throwing away money, and you're either going to, for instance, people like me are going to take your business, period, end of story. Market share is going to be taken. Right now, specifically right now, is what's going to turn us as agents into top producers, is this market. We talked about it with Kyle earlier, we talked about it with Michael, we talked about the chaos, we talked about this. Like, if you're not putting these into play, what's going to end up happening is eventually somebody else is, and they're going to take market share. It's very simple.
All right, so I'm going to skip it to a different topic. Anybody who follows Cyrus, anybody who's in the Maplewood office, I've certainly highlighted you before. I'll tell you, one of the things that you do a phenomenal job with is video. Vertical video. We heard, I think, Juan speak about it before. We talk about vertical video and how to build that video out. Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, there's no way that you spend as much time as I think you do actually creating and editing that video. What does that look like?
Yeah, so
talk about process.
Yeah, so when it started, it was me editing, by the way. Like, it was me doing everything, every single piece. What it is now is, as you can see, like, we have cameras here, we have cameras here, we have cameras there, right? So we take all of that content, and I actually have an admin team of VA actually, so they're actually in the Philippines. And what I do is I take all of this long form content, I throw it over to them in a Google Drive. Once it goes into the Google Drive, I have them edit it down to all of these little clips. Really easy, like look, like if you don't want to hire a full-time VA, like, which we can get into that if we want to, like,
we will.
If you don't want to hire a full-time VA, like, you can go onto a website like Fiverr, right? And it's costs you like $10 or whatever to edit down video. There's literally like no excuse nowadays to not be doing video. The reason that I do video, again, is people work with people they like, people work with people they trust, and the reality is how am I going to connect with somebody online if I'm not in front of them every day? A picture is great, a video is better. A video is going to actually be able to build some sort of relationship so that when I actually meet them, they already know me. And that's the goal, right? And what I've also done with video, not even on social, what's really cool is we use basically like when a contact comes in, let's say a Zillow lead or whatever, I've pre-filmed videos like, hey, thank you so much for clicking on the listing on Zillow. My name's Cyrus, I'm founder. One of my team members is going to be calling you. I'm in the middle of something, but somebody's going to be calling you shortly. And I put it into FUB. It's automatically sent to every single lead. So guess what? And that video is filmed just like this. I filmed it once. It's been sent out thousands of times. And they feel like I'm sending, the founder of the company is sending them a video every single time we transact, or every single time they open the lead comes in.
So, you know I have to touch on the VA thing. Yeah. So everybody in here, virtual assistants are a sexy topic, and I think the average agent broker out there has no idea how to go out and actually hire a virtual assistant. And for those of you who don't realize, like one of the biggest reasons that you go out and hire a virtual assistant is cost. It's far cheaper than going out and hiring somebody locally, and it's not taking advantage because the way that the exchange rates work in, say the Philippines, you're actually paying them, a really reasonable and in some cases a high wage for, any profession in that particular country. So I'm just curious, what would the process be if you were a brand new agent starting out, or a producer that's trying to scale? That's probably a better way of explaining it. What would the process that you would take to go out and hire a VA?
First, there's a bunch of different companies that do this. They'll literally go, you'll go online, you'll type in VA for real estate, and 20 other companies will come up. And those companies, they'll actually go out and recruit somebody for your needs, and they'll lightly train them to know some real estate stuff. You still have to train them, but there's a bunch of different companies. That's going to cost, you're probably going to be paying double the cost because they're a recruiting company. That's how they make money, right? There's a website that I use. It's called onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph is a job board for people in the Philippines. So for instance, someone that's a VA, that's a video editor or whatever, he's gonna put a job board up there and say they have this experience, blah, blah, blah. You gotta log in, you gotta create an account. I think they don't charge to post like jobs, but they charge to...
It's like $70 monthly, and you could drop off of it once you've actually hired somebody.
Yeah, correct.
So it might cost you $70 up front to just start to interview people.
Yeah, so then basically what I would do is I go on there, I filter it out, I look for somebody that I'm looking for. I'm like, okay, video editor, cool. These 5 people look like great video editors. And then I send them a message. I'm like, hey, I want to interview you for a video editing position. I want you full time. I don't want you working with anybody else. Is that a problem with you? Because that's very important. Because a lot of these VAs, they'll work with multiple different people. So I'm going to tell them, hey, I want you to work with me, period, end of story. Done. Once they say yes, thumbs up, cool. What then I do is then I interview them, I have a conversation with them, and I've scaled and built my companies. I have multiple different companies. I joke all the time, it's like everything I touch, I own. Literally the whole process, I own a portion of something that we touch in the real estate industry. But with the VAs, I want to make sure that they're gonna work 40 hours a week for me, Monday through Friday. They're gonna work my hours, and they're going to be my people. I think if you're paying them really high, which is let's imagine it's $150,000 salary here, it's $1,000 to $1,500 a month, and I get them 40 hours a week. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Onlinejobs.ph, that's what I use, and then as I've built that, what I've done is now I've talked to each person that I've hired, and I'm like, hey, I need somebody for this, do you know anybody? And then they're like, oh yeah, my friend can do this, right? Because most of them are in this space over there anyway, so it kind of just becomes, and now we have
So I just want to point out, that's for full-time. So, you know, for somebody who's like, I don't have the extra $1,000 to spend a month, well, you could hire somebody part-time and you could get, you know, for relatively inexpensive, you know, amount of money, you could get somebody who's editing all your video for you or doing any other service that you want, because you could put in whatever your requirements are, what you're looking for.
Yeah, and how I started with VAs, by the way, is I was really scared to go like out of country. I was like, oh, they're not going to be able to speak like good English, my clients, and yada, yada, yada. Like all these things that everybody's saying, oh, what about the hours, blah, blah, blah. Like, so I was like, I want to hire somebody in the United States. And I was ending up paying them like $25 an hour. I'm like, what the heck? But I only paid the hours I used. And I found her on Fiverr. But what ended up happening over time, right, is she ended up getting another job and she ended up going and starting to work with that person, right? So I was like, I need to get someone full-time, so on and so forth. So that's what I did, yeah.
Yeah. So you're a monster on Instagram. What do you have, 40,000 followers, or probably more now?
It's like 50 something.
Look, I told you. See? Brush your shoulders off. So my question to you is, you know, everybody's always trying to like get ahead in you know, the Instagram world. And I'm going to focus on Instagram because I feel like it's the most popular platform for real estate, you know, in today's world. So what are you doing? What is the approach to growth on Instagram?
It's the same thing as growth in your business, I think. It's just consistency. Like, there's times that I post videos that, like, they don't get the view count that I get, like, on other videos. And I'm like, what did I do differently? And it's like, for me, I'm like, yeah, look, like, I'm just going to continually put out content. Like, I'm just consistently going to put out as much content as possible. And again, that is from me taking all of my long-form content that I create through, like, my podcast and things like this, or when I'm talking to people, I'm videoing, like, you guys are going to come talk to me afterwards. You're probably going to get video. You might be on an Instagram video, you know, like, that's what I do. I repurpose everything. And the thought process is, can I consistently just put out content? Can I consistently put out content? And then what's really working right now are Reels. What's really, really working are Reels. And then with Reels with the right thumbnail. So what that means is like essentially like a cover photo that you can gauge attraction, gain their attraction, right? It's like reading the title of a book. Those are working really well for me right now. I'm posting 1 to 3 times a day, and by the way, they're not all videos. Some are like just Twitter captions that some of you have shared. I appreciate that. Like, and what we do is, as I'm posting all of this content, my goal is just to feed as much content as possible and share as much as possible. And if I can share as much as possible, what's going to end up happening is it'll coming around. So right now I'm averaging like probably 50 to 100 followers a day, just from consistent posts. Now again, that happened because there was literally years before that I'd be posting and get nothing. Like literally nothing. I also have a secret weapon.
You're talking about the 1% growth every day?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what we're talking about?
This is literally my whole motto in my life.
No, it is.
And you know that's why my whole motto in my life is like, hey, just consistently put in the work. As I do that, I just get better every single day. And like I was gonna say, like I kind of have like a little hack too. Like Lindsay over there runs like social for me and everything, and she's amazing. She's the best. And so she helped me. She's got a master's degree in social media analytics, which is like, what? That's even a thing, right? It's crazy. So she's the best, and so she's helped me a lot with my social growth as well.
Awesome. So one of the things that I appreciate the most about you is your willingness to learn and the fact that you crave it. So you walk into a session like today, and you know you're sitting in the audience. You're not up here. What is your process for implementation of the information that you learn? Because you know there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown at you at some of these sessions, and yet you do a really nice job of turning it into opportunities in your business. So speak to that if you could.
Yeah, I hate school, love learning. I've always been this way. It's like I've always hated school, but I absolutely love learning. I read. I do audibles like 6 books a month. Like I'm constantly trying to listen to podcasts, read books, watch YouTube videos, so on and so forth. So like I'm trying to get as much content as much as possible because. So I had a coach when I was younger. Again, I told you I played soccer for a living. When I was younger, I had a coach, and I had one goalkeeper coach and then my team coach. My team coach was, you know, called me every name in the book and then some, and he was kind of like the devil to me. But he had told me something one day. He was like, oh, you shouldn't watch XYZ type of soccer. That's trash. You're not going to learn anything from it. So I was kind of upset because I was like, well, you can learn from, I'm like trying to figure it out. I'm like 13, 14. I went to my goalkeeper coach, Zach, and I told him this, and he goes, he is stupid. Look at these 5-year-old kids over here. We will watch them the rest of the training. You will learn something. And when that unlocked something in my mind where I realized I can literally learn from every single conversation I have. I can learn from everything I look at, right? So I take that in, first of all, like I want to learn from everything I do and every interaction I have, and how do I implement it? I'm really big on priorities. So something that like really helped me in my business is I figured my priorities out. How did I do that, and how can you do that? What I do is I tell people, like, look, take a piece of paper, a blank white piece of paper, scribble every single thing that you do. Whether it's in your business, whether it's in your personal life, yada, yada, yada. Write it all down, just all over the paper. And then take that and number it. 1 through 5, 1 through 10, 1 through 50, 1 through 100, whatever it is. For me, I look at that list, that priority list, and I break that down in each thing. For instance, today, I learned all of these different things that I can implement. I'm going to throw that all on a piece of paper, and I'm going to break that down into priorities. Right? Now, I'm not going to work on number 5 until number 1's done. Number 5 is never going to take the time of number 1.
So you're systematizing the way you implement the learnings in your life.
Correct. Literally every
How many people do that? I mean, how many people even think to do it? Like, it's such an easy way to approach it, and that's part of the reason for this session is to, just look at the world a little bit differently about how you even approach, building your business to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, and by the way, like, family for me is like number 1. I kind of told you a story, like, 6 years ago, my brother-in-law passed away, so my sister's husband, and he left 4 kids, and those kids are like my life, and so like that's my number 1 thing. Like, it could be today's event, and my niece called me earlier, and Michael knows, everybody that knows me in this room, I'd be out. That's it, period, end of story, because that's number 1. Number 1 does not take over number 2, period, end of story, never, ever, ever. So when you do that in your business, you can do that and break that down through, you could go down all the way, make it super granular.
I love that about you. So when you were talking before, you said, like, I have a standard. And the more the more you and I talk, the more I realize you have a standard for everything. Like, and it really comes down to impeccable habits. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about your habits and like, what would you say that these habits, whatever they are, from a priority perspective, changed my life?
I'm going to go back to consistency. So what I did that was really game changer for me. Everybody's always asking me this question of like, oh, what's your morning routine? What's your evening routine? Yada, 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 right? I do have a morning routine. I wake up, I work out, I shower at 9 a.m., I have a call with my assistant, and then my day starts, so on and so forth. And then at the afternoon, at 5:30 every single day, my assistant calls me, and I have my end-of-day call with my assistant, right? And then we go over my calendar for the next day. So I go over my calendar every night for the next day and every day for that day, right? So I know what my calendar tasks are. Why I say my calendar so many times in the last 30 seconds is because my calendar is truth to me. What does that mean? Again, I look at my priorities list, right? So nothing ever overtakes, so once it's in my calendar, it's like set in stone for me. It's done, period, end of story. So for instance, everyone's always like, oh, well, you have a client that comes in and they say they want to meet with you on Wednesday next week, and I look at my Wednesday next week and I'm doing something that's priority number 10 and my business is priority number 5, then that's the only time that'll change, right? But I need to know my priorities first, right? So it's very easy for me to make decisions because I don't ever have to think, oh, should I do this or should I not? Because it's already written down for me, right? And then on a quarterly basis, I review my daily tasks and my priority list on a quarterly basis. So I take intake and I'm like, okay, hey, has this changed, so on and so forth. But my calendar has been game changer for me. My calendar, like how strict I am with my calendar, once it goes into my calendar, it's done, it's truth to me.
So I'm a brand new agent. I'm sitting here, and we got a lot of data thrown at us. We got a lot of information thrown at us, and it seems like there's a million different directions to go. Like, let's talk, highest and best use of time. What am I doing right now to build my business?
As a brand new agent?
Yes.
As a brand new agent, first of all, again, like, if I could go back and do this, I think I would have probably hit 50 to 100 million in my first year, no doubt. I swear on it, but it was implementing a CRM. Like, truly, like, that's my base level for everything, because if I had that, then everything else would have worked way smoother. So I make sure I have a CRM, some sort of database, whatever it is.
So I'm going to interrupt you on that note. You don't have to put your hands up, but I bet you if we say, by a show of hands, how many people are really using their CRM on a daily basis, there's only going to be like 10% of the group. And yet, that's the number one thing that you're saying is of, the utmost importance is your CRM. Where do you feel there's a disconnect between that fact, because you're killing it business-wise, and the fact that everybody hears it over and over and over again? Why do they not actually take that step to use it regularly?
There's a couple different factors I think that are going on with that. One is we're totally fine spending like $60 for dinner tonight, but we're not okay with spending $60 for our business a month. Like, just put that in perspective for yourselves, right? Like, so many people don't want to implement their system because, I have to spend money. But like, how much money FUB has made me, I'll spend thousands and thousands on a monthly basis for the product. I will, period, end of story. Like, so I think that there's that people don't want to spend the money to invest into their business, right? And then the other side is it's scary. It's scary when you look and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to input all this, I have to add automations, I have to do all of this. No, like, take it the same way that we're talking about earlier. Like, how do you build a wall? How do you walk up the stairs? Like it's one brick at a time, one step at a time. Like, okay, cool. You don't have a CRM, you're not using it, just log in on a daily basis. Just take that one step. If you're having trouble getting into your CRM and you have one and you're not using it, just make a challenge for yourself to log in once or twice a day. Then the next day you can challenge yourself, okay, I logged in yesterday, now I logged in, and now I went to one contact and I updated it. Like, take those baby steps and just start building those habits, because as you build those habits, then it becomes easier. I mean, that's truly you take one step up the stairs, you're gonna eventually be at level 70.
So we have a few more minutes left here, and then we're all gonna break for lunch. I have really three questions that I would say are less about business, although they certainly apply to business, but are more about you as a human and how that can be applicable to this crowd. So my first question to you on a human level is, you're an athlete. Like, I played sports my whole life. We both have that competitive nature to us. We learned a lot of lessons, and sports is a microcosm for life. Yep. What lessons as a professional soccer player did you take out of that whole background and apply to life and apply to real estate?
Oh my gosh. Again, I could go days and hours about how it's so synonymous. Yeah, but I'll really break it down. Like, it's the little things. As a professional athlete, right, you watch these pro soccer games or pro basketball, pro football, whatever. I don't care what sport it is. I know they're doing it. It's the little things. Every single day when I got to training, we'd pass the ball. And sometimes it was passing the ball like from right here. Boom.
I suck at soccer,
right?
So.
But that's what it was, though. It was literally 2 feet, 3 feet passes. And you think, oh, these guys are pros. They should be passing the ball across the field and yada, yada, yada. But like, the reality is, it's the little things. That's what makes the big difference. The difference between a professional athlete, an elite athlete, and an amateur athlete is like this much. The reason that I became a professional athlete is because I was the one that kept going. I was never the best player. Truly, honestly, I was never the best player. I used to write something on my wall, and it said, there's always someone out there getting better than you by working harder than you. There's always someone out there getting better than you by working harder than you. And that's what I do on a daily basis. I want to be the one outworking everybody else, because I want to be the best. And so how am I going to do that? I have to realize that, and it's honestly taking the little steps.
So we're gonna get real personal here. We got to hear your story before, and the unfortunate reality in life is we face adversities.
Yeah.
You face some really challenging adversities with some of the losses that you had at a very early age. I'm just curious, like, what is your mindset, as it pertains to adversity? Because every person in here, we have challenges. We all have different challenges. Life throws us crazy things, and we have to deal with them. And we have to get up the next day and we have to keep swinging. So what is what's your mindset on that?
I think I realized, and I'll answer that question, but I'm going to kind of loop around to it. But I think I realized, as you guys look around, if you guys look around at every single person in this room, we're all dealing with something. That's the reality. Sometimes we don't want to believe that. Sometimes we get upset about somebody doing something, or whatever. But the reality is, like, we're all dealing with something. And when I realized that, I also realized that, like, through all of this adversity, through all this, death in my life, the loss of my career, yada, 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 what I also realized that it all works on the opposite side. You can say it's negative, you can say it's this. People ask me all the time, like, what's the best thing that ever happened to you and what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? And I always say the same thing. It's my dad passing away. I mentioned earlier, my dad was an amazing human being. My dad took care of our family. I miss my dad every day. Really, truly, honestly. And what I realized is that without my dad passing away, I wouldn't be here. I would not be here. And I can't help but be grateful to be here with you guys. And so for me, on a whole different level, it's about gratitude. It's so much. I mean, I pray every night, and my prayer is very simple. It's thank you, God, for everything you've done in my life, and everything you've given me, and everything you haven't given me, because everything you haven't given me is everything you've given me. And please continue to do your will in my life. That's it. And the reason I think that way is because, again, like, my brother-in-law passed away 6 years ago. He's 42 years old and passed away from pancreatic cancer and left 4 kids. My niece was 1 year old. And it's horrible. I remember I was sitting next to him when he was in hospice, and I'm asking him, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you need from me, And he goes, Cy, I'm good. Like, I know you got my family, and I know God's got me. I'm good. And he passed away later that night. And that's a horrible thing. Cancer's a horrible thing, yada, yada, yada. But the reality is, like, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have the relationship I have with my niece. I talk to my niece every day. She FaceTimes me and says, what's up, Uncle Cy? I wouldn't have the relationship I have with my nephews. I really, truly wouldn't. So I have to be grateful for that as well. So with adversity, I think that adversity also makes us become who we are. It's that caterpillar turning into that butterfly, and it's that butterfly effect, truly.
So I appreciate that. I guess the best way to say this is you and I are always in alignment on that. And I think that that's one of the most important things in life is the fact that, through adversity comes opportunity. And we don't see it in the moment all the time, and it crushes our soul at times, and it's like, super painful, but that's the truth, and that's the truth about this business as well. I want to ask you one last question, then I'll turn it over to anybody who has questions in the crowd. But the last question I have for you is, again, this goes back to the human side of this business. I know a lot of people that, from 30 under 30 even, we'll start there. I know tons of thousands or 600 plus agents, I think, are brokers are part of that network at this point. And it's become, a family of sorts. And one thing that I've witnessed from you is you've come in more recently, 2020, and you have built an extensive network with many people in there where they're like, man, Cyrus, how are you? Like giving you hugs, and it's like, remember that day, remember that thing we did. And it's, it is such a genuine love fest that, when you walk into the spot that I think that that's a gift, first of all, but I also think it's a skill. And I think that what I would love for you to speak about is just touch upon how you connect with people on that human level the way you do, because it's way beyond sales.
I think what...
Wait a minute, he took the glasses off. We're getting serious now.
I know. I think that when we really break this down, and truly how I feel, and again, I go to my priorities, I go to all this stuff. When I really break it down, is like, we're all humans trying to figure out what we're doing with our lives. Like, your clients, your friends, your other agents, like everybody around us, we're just trying to figure out how to move forward with our lives in what space that we want to go to, right? And so for me, that's really what it's about. It's how can a while ago, so what happened is, a couple years ago, I paid my mom's house off. Okay, I bought my G-Wagon, I paid my mom's house off, and these were my two biggest goals in life. Like, it was like, I wanted to do this since I was a little kid, right? And when that happened, I kind of felt lost again. It was a weird thing. It was a weird space in my life where I felt lost, where I was like, wait, so like, now what? Like, now what do I chase? Mm-hmm. And what I realized was this thought process of, if I can positively impact one person on a daily basis, then I feel like I truly have success. And so that's all I try to do, really. Like down, all this business, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. Like, the reality is like, imagine if every single one of us go out and try to impact one person positively on a daily basis. Like, could you imagine how that's going to change? That's literally how we change the world. Like, that's like, we break it down all the way down to the ground. Like, that's really what it is. If you go out there and you do one person, then guess what? That person might go out there and do another person, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. And now we're creating, again, like this butterfly effect. We're creating positivity, we're spreading positivity. And like, so for me, relationships, this business is all about relationships, but like, it's genuine like connections with people. Like, why are we here on Earth? Like, why are we here actually operating? We're actually here because it's to positively impact people around us. Because at the end of the day, we're going to leave one day. That's it. Period. End of story. Our life's going to start. Our life's going to end. And how we're going to be remembered, how we're going to change future generations, is how we impact people on a daily basis. And so, can we positively impact somebody on a daily basis? So that's how I build relationships, is that's all I focus on. And you know that, like, from a different level, because even when we talk, and again, it goes to my priority list, right? Like, I look at it and my relationships are the top of my priority. Like, you can talk about business all day long, you can talk about money, you can talk about all this, but the reality is like, this is more important to me than anything else. And it truly is that way. And so when it came down to Michael's in town and he wants to do something, it was easy for me to make a decision to drop everything. Because it's for me, a relationship is so much more important, and that human connection is so much more important. And I mean, like look at what we're doing, bro. Like, this is crazy.
It's pretty cool. I'll say this. A lot of times people talk about, like, I had a couple of people reach out to me and said, well, what do you mean? These people are not with Coldwell Banker. So I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, there's such tremendous value. I love, working for the company I work for, and I'm not knocking that at all. But I always think that it's cooperation, and community over competition. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I don't want to beat you. I want to beat everybody out there. Like, that's just how I operate. But the reality is like, you very much approach life that way. And I think that that's why you and I have been in alignment, as long as we have. I don't want to over talk here. I really appreciate your guys' time. What I do want to open it up to is, what questions do you have for Cyrus, if any? And I'll run around and be the gopher.
Hi, thank you. Very good presentation. My name is Esperanza Forest Field from Coldwell Banker in Morristown. I'm curious to know how you measure the video success, because I belong to an organization where recently we have a meeting about that, and we discovered the video wasn't successful for us at all, and messages were very successful.
Okay, so
Just
the
pass one
question
over.
is, how do I measure video success? A couple different things. First, again, like for me, success is the action, like the process, truly. Lindsay will kill me if I don't talk about this. It's analytics. Like we look at data and analytics of
Like likes?
No. Yeah, yes, engagement, things like this. But also we're looking at, and it depends on the platform, but we're looking at how many interactions we had, how many views we had, how many likes we had, how many comments we had, so on. All of this data becomes the analytics that we're looking at. So yes.
So you think real estate is different for other organizations?
I'll get back
People
there.
are more interested in open videos for real estate?
No, I think that video in general is very important for any business. And I think that if you're not having the success by looking at the analytics of the data, right, like then maybe it's the message that you're putting, so maybe you have to shift the message of the video. Yeah.
Please, right next to you.
Hi, my name is Ella Raven. I'm from the Morristown office. Esperanza, my question for you is, what is it that you don't do that most agents do?
Interesting.
The
What?
opposite. What it is that you don't do?
What is it that I don't do that most agents do?
Yes.
So here's a really cool thing. Is like I'm like so big on like if something's working for people, I like go and I like really like research and say like, okay, is this working? Is this not working? So on and so forth. I don't go to
It's
broker
on.
open, to be honest. A lot of agents do, and they have a lot of success with it.
Oh, come on.
I know. No, like you know when the house tours.
No, I'm joking. That's what this is called, Brokers
I
Open.
know that. That's
Yeah.
why I had to clarify, man. So like I don't do that. Like even on our open houses, like I don't hold them on during broker open days. Like again, like for me, I just have never done it. So that's maybe something that I don't do that most agents do. Yeah.
We have a question
Sorry,
back here.
Hey, Cyrus, thanks for coming. So, can you estimate the amount of time you spend on generating business versus transacting current business? And if that number is significant, then what's the disconnect between selling yourself, connecting with your clients, but then are you there for them? When
Yeah.
they're selling their own?
Yeah, so
Take that from me.
generating new business versus
Questions?
cultivating and,
Questions?
and the relationships that we already
Question?
have. And building.
You're good? Questions? What's up? How are you guys?
Is higher on my priority list because I have systems and processes that take hold of the relationship building, right? The emails, the follow-ups, the texts, and all of this, like I have people that are helping me with that now. But always what's first is filling the gumball machine.
That's exactly
right?
right.
Because
It's
eventually,
good.
as I twist that gumball machine, I'm gonna run out of gumball. So I'm
Questions?
consistently filling that.
Question?
Lead generation.
You good?
or not.
You?
Usually it's around 4 hours.
Questions?
A day.
No?
Yeah, correct.
Go.
Correct. New business. Yeah. No, never. And again, that's because of how I've prepped clients, how my processes work, right? Like my process is like once we open escrow, like I'm there to help and negotiate, but like they're communicating with my assistants, my admin team, my other agents, so on and so forth. So I've built a very good process for that.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
Jimmy. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, good question. I've been doing this for a very long time, and one of the biggest mistakes that I realized, well, I can't really say it was a mistake, but I really wish that I had incorporated my initial clients into like a CRM system.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was more like the birthday cards, all that sort of thing. So what I'm finding is like acclimating them into a CRM system after so many years. Like, what do you find to be the best approach?
I think get rid of the false narrative that like they're gonna be like this, like, oh my gosh, what the heck, I'm getting inundated now. Like they actually like seeing you. Like if they've worked with you, they probably like seeing you and like seeing your success, right? And those are our people. So like
I'll come back.
we want to show them that. All my friends get my emails, get my postcards, so on and so forth. So how to do that, I think that you just need to you just need to jump in the deep end. Like, you need to dive in and stop telling yourself, oh, well, if I do it this way, they might be this. Like it's just a negative self-talk that you just need to say, hey, please, can you go away and let me do my thing? Just jump in the deep end, yeah.
Got one right over here.
Hey, Sai, how do you generate content? What are the sources? I think the question was okay too, because she said she's doing batch video.
Yeah.
What are your sources?
How do I generate, like, as far as the topics and things like that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Where do you get that content?
So a lot of it is going to be cutting up things like this. There's a question in the back over there.
Yeah, I got one over here too.
A lot of it is like cutting up like things like this.
Then I'll go
long-form
you
content
next,
like
okay?
this. I've done podcasts and I do that, so I'm also doing that. And then what I do as well is I will actually, what I started doing is I've been even using like AI and just being like, hey, content generation ideas, or I'll Google like great content, video topics, and I pull those topics and I'm like, okay, can I speak on that? Cool, like let me talk on that and let me build something out. So I'm just researching what other people are doing and I'm rinsing and repeating with my style.
We got two over here. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm from the Summit office.
Yeah.
I totally relate to everything you said, especially the sphere. I have a really big sphere, and I've been getting a lot of my leads from there, but I just go to social media and I add comments. I've gotten people interested just by clicking and finding out who I am. So, but my problem is I don't follow up. Like, I open houses and I was door knocking. In fact, when you talk about door knocking, it's really great. I went down one street one time and I had about 5 leads, like hot leads. And then I moved to Summit, so now I don't have it. I didn't follow up. But I wanted to know, like, with the door knocking. Oh, and also, by the way, I was using Follow Up Boss, but I wasn't using the CRM, so it wasn't working for me. And so when you door knock, what are you leaving them? How are you leaving them? Because I have like the little baggies and I can put stuff on the door and they may not see it, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on what type of door knock. But like what I was talking about earlier, the open house door knocks, I created a little like invited to the open house, like a little invite to the open house, and I'll leave something. If I have nothing to leave, I literally will leave my business card. Like, I always want to leave something behind when I door knock. As far as like lead generation and follow up and things like this, like I think it's probably just implementing like getting a follow up boss and implementing, like, once you put them in there, add a task or an automation that makes sure that you follow up, right? Like, you don't want to think about following up with them, you want the system to tell you, so it acts as an assistant.
Go ahead.
Cyrus, what is your dialogue when a seller tells you, I really want to sell, but I don't want to go and pay 7% before my next purchase?
I really want to sell, but I don't want to pay 7% for my next purchase.
Somebody back here.
So that's a good one. So right now we're dealing with that a lot, right? Yeah, interest rate. Yeah, I got it. Right now we're dealing with that a lot. So what I've done with my lenders specifically, like,
help you with a lot of things
is
about
I've
that.
sat there and said, hey, look, we're in this market. It's a crazy market. What can we do that we can help these people to transact? Because we need more transactions, right? So I've made a deal with my lender that in the future they can refi once for free, no cost, right? And why not, right? The lender's hurting for business right now. Every lender is. So I sat there and I said, hey, we need more transactions. Hey, would you be willing to refi them in a future date, 6 months, a year, whatever, when the rates drop, for free, for no cost? And it was an easy yes for me, for my lender. So now when I talk to my client, my seller, I'm like, look, hey, I understand your process. People are moving because, like Kyle was saying earlier, like something's going on in their life. They're not moving because we're like, oh, can you sell your house for me? Like, they're not doing that favor for us, like, as much as we want them to, like, they're selling their house because some life event is happening, so they need to sell. So can we make it easier for them on the back end? And so that's what we're doing. What was that? Who's your preferred lender? I would start with them and have that conversation first.
We got another.
It's very easy for you to have that conversation with them, and if they say no, then there's 20 other lenders everywhere.
Got a question back here, Cyrus.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love what you said, Sarah, at the Maplewood office. Hello.
Yeah.
I love what you said about, get that notion out of your head that they don't want to hear from you. That voice is really loud for me. So my question to you is, do you divide up your contacts with your smart lists when you send out certain content so that it's not falling on deaf ears?
Yes.
Okay.
So very important. So our email.
You have another one or no?
Specifically, like let's say our email list.
You got one? I got you.
Our certain follow-ups. I use tags in FUB so that I separate them, right?
Yep.
So even in certain neighborhoods, I have certain things going out
Hey,
to
how are you
those
doing?
people.
Well, how are you?
But those email lists are, let's say, my
Yeah, I got a little bit of a line, but yes.
It's the same exact
Don't worry, I'll
newsletter,
get you.
minus one little piece, changed it to an event that happened in my life versus an event happening in the community, right? Like something like that. And then I'll take that email and then I'll do another email for industry professionals. So that's all of you guys will get a certain type of email from me. And then my most likely to sell, those people are getting a different type of email. My buyer leads are getting a different type of email. So but they're all the same email templates. They're just like, instead of a seller tip, it's a buyer tip, right? But now they're getting content that they actually want to read.
And my follow-up question to that is, follow-up question, is so on the same day that you block off time, right, I'm getting real nitty-gritty, that you block off time to do that, do you edit it all within that same template to make it easier on yourself? What do you automate?
Correct, yeah, so for instance,
Get you next.
like every Monday I have a meeting with my marketing team, and we sit down and we talk, and I'm like, okay, hey, we want to edit this one, we want to change this, right? So we do all of that up front. My goal is that I can get a month or two ahead of time. Right? Because guess what? Like, I'm traveling for the next 2 weeks. Like how am I going to have my business keep operating if I don't have that process set up? So everything is all ahead of time. So how I did that is I started by doing 1 month, and then I'm like, okay, let me go 2 months ahead, let me go 3 months, so on and so forth. And that's the same thing with my social content. It's all already in there, so all I have
Just
to
for
do
1
is
second.
post.
Hey guys back here, I'm happy that you're eating lunch, but just keep it down a little bit because we can't hear the questions. Go ahead.
So, why real estate? Like, why, out of all the things you could have gotten into, why did you pick real estate when I feel like there's so many real estate agents and it's really competitive, like why did you get into it?
Why real estate? I ask myself that question every day. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, to be quite candid and honest, like I got into real estate because it was the only thing that I felt like I could do because I didn't go to college, I didn't go to, it was just something I had gone to real estate school during the off season, and it just happened to be the season that I got in my car accident. So I got into real estate not realizing like it was really like what it was. I knew nothing really about real estate. I just knew like if I'm gonna get into something, and this is how I am in every single thing, like every single business I start, I'm not gonna start it unless I know that I'm going to be able to compete to be the best, right? I wanted to, for instance, like very honestly, like before I got on FUB like years ago, I was building my own CRM because I couldn't find a product that was good. Then I found FUB and I was like, well, this is a better product than I could ever build, so I'm not gonna get into that space. Right, and that's just kind of how I operate. So with real estate, it was really like I didn't know what else I was going to do with my life. So I got into real estate, and then I went and I built my business from there. Yeah.
My name is Elizabeth Morgan. I'm with the Coldwell Banker office in Sparta. I've been a realtor 47 years. More than half my life, for sure. I just wanted to share my most successful postcard. When I was in real estate for 25 years, I sent out a postcard that had 5 or 6 of my photos that were on my business card through the years. 1976, 1980, 1985.
I love this.
And in the middle of the postcard it said, "Which Elizabeth Morgan did you buy your house from?" I love it. That I got 4 transactions. Everybody called me back, and we were just talking about how you get in touch or how you keep in touch with past clients. That's what you do. You send them your postcard with all of your years on it. And it worked very successfully for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's amazing. I love that.
How cool are you? That was awesome. Any other questions? I got a couple more. What's up? I got you again, don't worry. Here you go.
Hi, Shalabi from EXP. I had a quick question. When dealing with adversity, big or small, how do you not go down a black hole?
Yeah, that's a good question. When dealing with adversity, how do I not go down a black hole? Like I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. I may not know that reason right now, but what I've realized in my life is as I've looked at all of these different things that happen in adversity, like I've had positive things come out of it. So there's some things that it's really just accepting the fact that it happened and realizing for me that I may not realize it right now what that positive thing is, but it'll eventually come to fruition. And to be honest, sometimes it might not. I may die and never realize why XYZ happened, right? But it's the acceptance that I know that there's something positive out of it. I don't know what it is right there and then. I use this analogy all the time where it's like it's a puzzle piece, right? And you have this it's a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, right? And that 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, you look at one piece and it's black, just completely black. And I looked at it and I showed it to you and I said, what is the whole puzzle? You wouldn't be able to tell me. And sometimes that's where we're at in life. Wow. Sometimes all we see is that one piece of the puzzle, but what we don't realize is when we put that piece down and it has the whole picture, it's a beautiful picture of Starry Night, right? It's one of the most beautiful paintings in the world, right? And that piece fits perfectly in our lives. So for me, it's just the acceptance that the reality is everything for me happens for a reason, and I have to have that faith in that acceptance, because if not, I mean, with adversity, like we can go in those black holes and spiral and keep going down. So I just consistently will tell myself like, there's a reason for this. I may not know it now, but there's a reason for it.
You know, I gotta interrupt real quick. You know, at any given time during an event like this, you know, there's a nugget that's dropped. And, you know, sometimes it's in the beginning, sometimes in the middle. That, for me right there, was like worth the price of admission. I know it's a free event, but regardless, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I've never heard anybody say that the way you just said it, and it was awesome. So congratulations on that, because I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Just going back to a previous question. So when you divide or categorize a list of clients or contacts, I should say, you mentioned the list of professionals. One thing I don't do, I don't send emails to other agents, my colleagues. Do you keep track? Do you add them to your?
100%.
Okay.
120%. You realize how many transactions? Look, let me be honest with you. Like, if you guys have a lead in Newport Beach, Orange County, LA, like, who are you gonna look up first? What was that? You. Exactly. Exactly. Right?
Perked up over here, huh?
This is probably the most important relationship in our business. They're gonna outweigh, they're gonna outlast any client lead that you have. So for me, agent relationships are the #1 relationship in our business.
Got a question over here.
Hi, Cyrus. I'm Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Awesome presentation. Thank you. You impacted me positively.
You achieved it today.
My question is about your schedule. How do you stay so disciplined and you don't allow other things to come into your life, whether it be personal, whether it be other business transactions that just take over your day? I know that happens to all of us. So how do you stay so disciplined?
Yeah, everything happens. Like there's things that are just going to happen in our lives, and things are going to go, and they're going to come, and we got to handle them, yada yada yada. But it goes back to my priority list, and it goes back to my calendar being that truth, right? Like if it's my truth, like I have time in every single one of my day that I deal with my emails. Like this is the craziest thing. Sometimes I talk to agents and they're like, what? I check my emails once a day. Game changer. Oh my gosh, they're never gonna work with you again. No, like you get an email, like I follow up, agents call me, hey, I sent you an email an hour ago, why didn't you respond? Hey, I haven't gotten to my emails today yet, I'll be getting to them in a couple hours and I'll respond accordingly. Period, end of story. And that's how you're gonna actually run a business that's scalable. Because it's not scalable to be chasing fires down every single day. Like, so for me, I make time to chase those fires down. Like, just I put it in my calendar, that's my fire chasing time. I'm gonna do that then. Right now, I'm gonna deal with what I need to deal with. Does that help? Yeah, perfect.
Anybody else have a pressing question? We got one more back there. Getting a workout over here. 1% towards health, huh?
How's it going? Dave Chittum from Coldwell Banker Hoboken. If you're using a CRM and you're taking all the notes about the people and you're building a deep relationship, I find over time there's a lot of notes in there and you have a lot of people. As you scale and you start kind of forgetting things, or maybe it's just that I'm getting older, how do you try to remember the people? Like when they're ringing on your phone, you see the name, but you might not know who it is. Like you've got the CRM to go to, but like how are you managing that to keep the deep relationship?
So, put in perspective, I have 36,000 people in my CRM. Just to put in perspective,
36,000
in my database. So like I tell my agents this all the time. Like, so I don't remember sometimes people calling me. I'm like, so what happens is they all call me through FUB. To be honest, like this is my system. So they call me through FUB, and what happens is the number comes up. I don't save them in my phone book. I don't text them or call them through any other number. I call them through my FUB number, follow-up boss number, right? And so when they call me back, it's through FUB, and it shows follow-up boss, Jerry Seinfeld, right? And I'm like, oh, Jerry Seinfeld, but how do I know Jerry, right? So I literally will answer, and I'll put it on speaker, I'll open my CRM, I'll look at Jerry's thing on my app, and I'm like, oh, Jerry was this person, I met him at this open house, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that's how I keep track, because I'm every single conversation I have with somebody, there is a note. Every single call I have with somebody, there's a note. So if I call and they don't answer, it says no answer, right?
Do you summarize those down over time, or does it keep getting longer?
Do I summarize down the notes? No. So my notes are very detailed. Like after I talk to somebody, I open my CRM and I literally will click voice note, and I just talk to text, and I'll put like talked about this, blah 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 blah. Usually, to be honest, like I've never had an issue where I open it and I'm like, I talked about this, and I don't remember who that person is or where that person is. And then I also have them in tags, like how I met that person in my source, so then I can track everything pretty easily. And if I need to remember like a certain thing or whatever, I can scroll all the way to the bottom and it shows me exactly how I remembered it, or how I met them. Yeah.
Anybody else with an absolute pressing question? No? All right, so anybody else who wants to speak to Cyrus, grab him after. I'm going to wind down real quick. First of all, I sincerely appreciate you guys coming out. We had 360 people sign up today, and the majority of them are here right now. So I really appreciate you guys coming. What I want to, I want to just say this for the Brokers Open series. Obviously, we've been doing this monthly. We're going to take a brief hiatus during the summer months, just because people are on vacation. We're going to come back strong in September. I have an awesome lineup prepared for September, October, November. I will put out dates early. I will send you guys an invite if you're open to it. So you'll be aware of it, ahead of time, just for coming as a courtesy to you. Would love to have you guys join us moving forward. Did everybody get something out of today? Yes? All right. Thank you guys. I want to say a brief thank you to our speakers. Started off with Kyle, did an awesome job. Obviously, Kate, Ryan, Juan, Cyrus, you took it away at the end, so I appreciate all of you guys. And I'm going to give you the last word. Thank you so much for coming, my friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I want to also thank Michael for helping putting this together. I want to thank FUB, because without Follow Us, I literally wouldn't be here, because they helped sponsor this whole event. And then I want to also mention a couple of people have asked me like about my hat and like all of this. There's merch out there if you guys want to buy it. But I really truly just genuinely appreciate you guys. I know that she had said earlier I positively impacted her, and the fact that you guys raised your hand when Michael said have you guys learned something, it's what drives me. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Can we go up? Yeah. Somebody, you had a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, shout it out.
So my son-in-law, who was a stay-at-home dad for 5 years, is now in real estate. And my daughter did great, and she's a national speaker now. how can I get him to connect with you, or do you take your Butterfly Effect around Boston, Massachusetts anytime soon?
The tour continues.
Yeah, so we're
Thank you.
we're actually going to 10 different cities
I appreciate it.
all around
Thank
the
you.
country. But if you want to connect with him or have him connect with me on Instagram or anything like that, I respond to literally every single message I get on Instagram. So yeah.
Go ahead. Shout it out.
So I have triplets, and we're applying to college this year. And my two boys, who are very interested in real estate, sort of toyed with the idea, should I go to community college, Mommy? Maybe that's a good idea. So the bottom line question, are you ever regretting if you didn't go to college?
Oh,
Absolutely
college
not.
question.
Absolutely not. I get this question all the time. I actually, to be honest,
Hold on. The question for those who didn't hear it is there a regret that you did not go to college?
Absolutely not even one single regret. Especially getting into this business, like people ask me, oh, should I major in real estate? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm like, look, I didn't, and look at where I'm at. It's how much you put into it is how much you get out of it. So if your kids are self-driven and will work and things like that, then let them do their thing and don't worry about the college thing.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the lunch.